Hi, my name is Willow Brew. I'm applying for the Shuttleworth Foundation Fellowship. I do disaster and humanitarian response and open digital tools, so how those overlap and how hopefully the open source ideologies sharing and tools can help response and aid be boring. I got involved with this in about 2010, which is when digital response also really started in earnest. We were using things like OpenStreetMap to help in the response to the Haiti earthquake. And in using those open platforms, getting traditional response agencies to actually share information or at least pull from shared information sources in ways that they never have. And they've always struggled with being open and sharing information, which, if they were to do, would make an entire response that much easier and would also involve the frontline population in new and interesting ways. I'm specifically interested in how frontline populations organize themselves in an ongoing way through things like citizen science and open governance, and how that understanding of their long term objectives can help them deal with the incoming resources that go with a disaster or humanitarian response. So you need external help because a disaster is, by its very definition, beyond your capacity to respond to. So you end up with a lot of external capacity coming in. And by having documented and understanding what your long-term desires are, you can help channel that external capacity not only to addressing your immediate needs, but also still achieving those long-term objectives. So one example is I deployed with the FEMA Field Innovation Team for Sandy response, and I mostly worked with Occupy Sandy. And I did that as a way of seeing what Occupy Sandy already had covered, what they would benefit from external help around, and how to make that happen without it trampling anybody's autonomy. So specifically, I helped Occupy Sandy think about what their ongoing database needs were in their logistics, so how they knew what the needs were of the frontline populations that they were interacting with and a part of, and how they did distribution and logistics around those understood needs, the incoming donations, and how those were deployed. So they were using Google spreadsheets and Google Forms, and then they moved into Google Fusion tables. And when I interacted with them, it was about if those Fusion tables were meeting their needs or if it would be worth the change cost to adopt something called Sahana, which is an open source aid logistics platform. It's specifically for this. They ended up adopting it, and I helped them make that transition, but also build consensus around whether or not that was something they wanted to do. So, and they're still able to maintain that data so they know what that trend was. So the next time there is a hurricane, they have historical knowledge in the network that will help them better make use of external resources and also to take care of themselves. Well, that's one example. And the groups that are a part of this and continue to be a part of it are still interacting, but we're making similar mistakes and we're not reaching out to the new people who are involved with things like tech refugees, because anytime there's a crisis, people want to jump in and help with the skills that they have, including digital skills. And if we were instead to document what those needs are, what those trends are, and do outreach to these new groups, we can make much better use of all of the resources and energy and love that people are bringing to the table. To do so openly is to create a commons that doesn't rely on people like me to be there in order to make it happen. And I certainly can't make all this on my own, and so working in an open way will help it be actually used and useful. So we've been learning so much. I'm working with a number of groups, including as a coordinator for the Digital Humanitarian Network, and I just am wrapping up 2 years with Aspiration, where I've been documenting and articulating strategy for the space, for a digital response space, and building out an ecosystem map that has personas and workflows, but also the tools that we have and the resources that we have, and trying to find the gaps so that we can have a shared dialogue and also start creating the things that are missing. So we have some guides that we've started. We have a tool that just like, I could totally use this in response. Let's add it to the database. And I'm really excited to continue these collaborations, but I want to do it not in the wee hours of the day, which means taking time to just get it started and scaffolded so that more people can contribute to it and be a part of it. And that's what I'm excited to do, is to bring some order to this chaotic system, which is addressing another chaotic system.